Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about the transit Sun conjunct one's natal Neptune. When you're talking about the transit of the Sun in astrology, it's about our focus, our attention, our concentration of energy at this time. Now, the fact that when it hits Neptune, there could be very strong focus, attention, and concentration of energy. It could be on issues connected with deception and duplicity. If it's in our seventh house, like I have, it could be in a deception in our relationships. It could be where we might be over idealizing people. Maybe it's an area where we showed too much self-sacrificing energy and we really didn't get what we should have gotten back in return, if anything. Also, too, Neptune is about fraud. So, I mean, if you have this, like in the, say, if it's in the second house and you're having this transit, it could be some financial fraud that you might have to put your attention on, whether you really want to or not. Now, it's also about delusion. If we are over idealizing someone or something, this is the time we put our eye on it. If it's something that we were somewhat either oblivious to or we threw under the rug for a certain amount of time, this could be the time where we do put our focus and attention on matters like that. Now, it's also too, Neptune is associated with dissolving energy and dissipation. If we have, somebody has this, say, in the fifth house, this could be manifesting the dissolving or dissipation. It could be of some love or romance or a love relationship. It could be a connection with a child. Maybe it's some kind of investment that we basically dissolved, so to speak, that wasn't really working. It was something that might have not been consistent enough for you or what have you, and it might be the time where it may end, or maybe the company that you had invested in was something that might be dissolving on its own. If it's in the second house, maybe it could be dissolving assets, so to speak. I'm being somewhat flippant with it, but not really, because it could be, Neptune is about dissipation, dissolving energy. This could be where you actually may, where your finances may be gradually, it could be, disappearing, whether it's through lack of work or whether it's through somebody else, through some kind of theft or what have you. If it's in the eighth house, it could be something you might be dealing, with some kind of dissolving of your assets through maybe some fraudulent credit card use. The eighth house is connected with credit and also credit cards, and it's also about disappearances as well. Now, sometimes it could be an actual person you may be focusing on that might have disappeared out of your life, figuratively disappeared. It could be somebody that might have just decided to keep his or her distance from you. It might be in some isolated cases an actual literal disappearance where there's actually people, whether it's law enforcement, what have you, that are looking for this person. I mean, if you have it in the third house, say it could be somebody that could be a neighbor, a cousin, or a sibling, perhaps. And also, too, this is the time, too, where, I mean, Neptune is also about lethargy. So it could be a time where you just decide maybe to put more attention on sleeping and relaxing, a little more meditation, being a little more lethargic, especially if you're somebody that works laboriously, a person that's like a real workaholic. Say you have very strong, like a dominant Virgo chart or sixth house chart, for example. You might be somebody that actually works incessantly, excessively, and could be something where you might need some time out to just kind of relax. Also, too, Neptune is associated with body fat. Now, if you have this, say, in the first, especially if you have it in the first house of the physical body, or if it's in the sixth house of physical health, you'd have to be, this could be a time where you might be looking at something and saying, okay, I need to do something about, there may be excess body fat at this time that might be more concern to you than usual. And also, too, Neptune, anatomically, it's associated with the feet and the toes, and it's also connected with the lymphatic system. So these might be issues that might have to be addressed at this point in time that you got your eye on at this time, more so than usual. If there's some kind of bunions or something on your feet, it could be something very mild that needs to be looked at. This could be the time where you make that decision actually to look at this and attempt to take care of the problem. Neptune can also be about just general weakness. It might be a time where your energy level might not be quite the same as it had been previously. You just might feel a little bit weaker and sluggish and more lethargic than usual. And also, Neptune is associated with flooding as well. If you have this in the fourth house, in isolated cases, it could be associated with the home. It might be connected with some kind of water leak. It could just be a simple it could be a water leak that might have gone a little overboard, like say something in the pipe and you weren't home and there was something that might have spilled out, or the water had been left on and you had a pipe that bust. Something, it could be something like that. It may not be anything really major or prodigious, but just something where you might have some kind of minor flooding in the home. It can also be, Neptune is associated with drugs and alcohol as well. So this is something, depending on what house it's in, it might be yourself in some cases. It might be somebody that you may know well that might be involved in drugs and or alcohol. This could be the time where you put more of an emphasis on this, more so than usual. You might put your attention on yourself or this person. I mean, if you have it in the first house, it could be yourself. It may be somebody you knew from your early childhood. Sometimes it could be a grandmother in some isolated cases, or somebody that was instrumental to you in new beginnings. Now, also, the Neptune transit Sun is about our motivation and drive. I mean, the Sun is about our motivation and drive. This could be a time where you may be more motivated and driven toward matters connected with self-sacrifice, altruism, taking time out to help somebody else, not necessarily expecting reciprocation or something in return. It could be a time it also may be showing compassion more so than usual, helping those less fortunate than yourself, such as the impoverished, the oppressed, the homeless. Now, in Capricorn, this could be a time where you may be motivated and driven. Say that this transit is in Capricorn. If you have it in Capricorn, it could be a time where you may be motivated and driven toward some kind of insight or intuition associated with business acumen or even career decisions. This could be a time too also again, this could be about dissipated vitality and energy. You might find yourself sleeping a little bit more than usual during this time. This transit lasts approximately 5 days. If you're using a 3-degree applying aspect conjunction aspect and a 2-degree separating conjunction aspect, because the Sun moves approximately 1 degree per day. So it's about 5 days that this transit will last. Now, another thing too is that the Sun is about our self-expression. So this could manifest in self-expression through poetry, dancing, illusions such as magic. It could be through photography, pictures. It may be through filmography, or just simply using your imagination. It could be something with fantasy. If you have this in the 3rd house, it could be through some kind of fantasy fiction writing. This is time now where your life may be fantasized about more than actually taking action in connection with it. It could be a time where you may be daydreaming and trying to figure out, where you're going to be and in your life, and more about just basically thinking it over. Where do you fantasize where you want to do? It might be somewhat realistic, or maybe it's not even realistic at all. But this could be the time about fantasizing and daydreaming as opposed to actually doing. Now, another thing too is that it can, however, it can be utilized as transit as actually acting on one's dreams and fantasies, because remember, the sun is about action, Neptune is about dreams, fantasies, ideals. Hold on a moment. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now the sun in astrology is also about our biological father and children. Some cases this could be where the biological father or child, if applicable, might be causing, maybe cause for inspiration or hope. Maybe they're having some fatigue effect on you, making you feel more lethargic than usual. Um, it might be too where, I mean, this is a time where your life might feel a little bit more nebulous and unclear, more so than usual. And keep in mind the sun also rules the left or the right eye depending on gender. So this could also manifest in some weakness with the eye. It could be blurry vision or obscure vision, say if it's in Gemini, maybe double vision in some cases. Um, but this is a time where you're talking about the sun is about what we want, but maybe perhaps what we want to do. So this is a time where you may want to express more compassion, more forgiveness, more altruism and empathy, more so than usual at this time. Could also be a time where it could be very auspicious for seclusion, solitude, meditation. Another thing too, if you're a person that is involved in drugs, it's a time to be more prudent and careful, because this is a time where you might be more dominated. Sun is about dominance. It could be where you're more dominated by some form of addiction, which wouldn't exclude drugs and alcohol. It might be a time where more escapist tactics may be emphasized more so than usual. Laziness, lethargy, inertia. And another thing too, since Neptune is about dissolving and dissipation, and the sun can be connected with the biological father or children in general, if you do have any, this could be the time where maybe that relationship might be dissolving at this time, sadly. So it's just something, just to be wary of at this time during this transit. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.